All right, let's talk World Rugby Awards then. In Monaco, I imagine there's probably some very, very sore heads right about now. People having a wild night out at the black tie end of year shindig to celebrate what has been a fantastic year for international rugby, hasn't it? It really has. I do think we need to appreciate that because there's a lot of things wrong with rugby, financial issues all over the shop. I wish that people could get round a table and work out a global calendar that would be great for everyone. There's talk about breakaway leagues. So it's important to just appreciate just how good things are at the minute because we are in a golden age of international rugby. I'm absolutely convinced about that. And with the channel, and I thank you so much for your support through 2024, with this channel, I've been able to go and experience so much brilliant rugby this year. I was Six Nations at the start of the year. I went up to Edinburgh. I went to Twickenham. I went to Cardiff. I've been to South Africa twice for the Island Series, for the Rugby Championship games against New Zealand. I mean, incredible matches. And then this November, I was at Twickenham last weekend. And right through the year, I've been watching and sharing and enjoying with you in the comments so many brilliant games. And we're in such a good place. We are in such a good place. I reckon there's 8 teams that on any given day can beat each other. And I don't think rugby's been like that for a while, maybe ever. If you take the Rugby Championship teams and the top 4 in the Six Nations, any of those teams can beat any other team on any given day. And then Italy are really not far behind. Wales will be better. And you've got emerging teams, well, Fiji, obviously, and but Georgia and Portugal and Spain and Chile and Uruguay. These teams need help to try and bridge that gap to the others. And yeah, what a great year it's been. On with the awards then. And thank you very much for your support. As I say, if you get value from the channel, please hit subscribe and get stuck in the comments down below. World Player of the Year, Pieter-Steph du Toit, a 2-time winner now. He won it in 2019, the year that he won his first of his 2 World Cup medals. He now has 2 World Player of the Year gongs to go on alongside it. And you wouldn't bet against him, bet, you know what I mean. You wouldn't bet against him getting another World Cup winners medal on the mantelpiece and maybe 1 or more Player of the Year awards. The guy is absolutely relentless, and he just—I mean, I've never spoken to the guy, but he just seems like such a sort of gentle soul. But he's an absolute animal. The pure physical brutality that he brings on a rugby field, it's a beautiful thing how violent he is within the laws of the game of rugby. And I love to see it. What a specimen, what a player. The only other players that have ever won it more than once, Bowden Barrett's won it twice, and Dan Carter and Richie McCaw have won it 3 times. And yeah, he deserves to be regarded amongst people of that ilk. And he will go down as one of the greatest of all time, and maybe the greatest blindside flanker ever. Him or Ted Hill. Take your pick. For Pieter-Steph du Toit, like an average game for him is 8 out of 10. But although I can't remember the last average game I ever saw him play, he gets man of the matches non-stop. And I feel, having mentioned, I went to watch that series in Pretoria and Durban against Ireland. I was there in Johannesburg and Cape Town, and I saw South Africa at Twickenham. I've seen this guy play 5 times this year, and you recognise as you're standing there, how's he doing this? And you recognise I'm witnessing greatness in front of me. That is greatness right there. And yeah, so I feel privileged to have seen him play. And I watched him in a World Cup final as well. My goodness me. He's the sort of player I'm going to tell my grandkids about. No question. Right, dream team then. I've waxed on about Pieter-Steph du Toit enough. Of course he's in the dream team. Let's have a look at the rest of them then. 10 players out of the dream team that I picked the other day on the channel made it. 5 different ones, which actually just makes for an interesting conversation because it would be really, really boring and this channel wouldn't exist if we all agreed on everything. What would be the point in that? So finally, some recognition for Oxenche. Not the recognition that I think he deserved, which was a World Player of the Year nomination. He would have been my World Player of the Year, full stop. I don't begrudge Pieter-Steph du Toit, but at least he's in the dream team, is Oxenche, and there was no other contender there, was there? Malcolm Marx alongside him in the front row. I wondered whether Malcolm Marx being mainly used on the bench might have stood against him. I went for Cody Taylor. Malcolm Marx has been amazing, and I think, again, it just reiterates that whether it's Malcolm Marx or South Africa in general, they've completely changed the script on what it means to be on the bench. You're not a backup player. You're not a second choice. You're doing a very specific role, and he does it incredibly well. Just thinking back to that game in Johannesburg, what an absolute beast came on and won the game for his team. Very, very special talent. And Tyrell Lomax has had a brilliant year. Tight head prop. I picked him in my dream team the other day. Standout tight head prop this year. Second row the same. I picked these two. They've got everything as a pair. Etzebeth and Tygburn. Absolutely immense. And they would fit so well together. I always think about this dream team as like, if some aliens attacked Earth from outer space and for some reason came and said, right, send us your best rugby team. We're going to play you. This is who we'd send. And as a lock pairing, no worries. Line out, loose play, rucks, tackles. They've got it covered. Back row, obviously Peter Steph the toy. Don't need to go on any more about him. Caelan Doris has had a brilliant year. Nominated. He was best number 8 by a country mile. Absolutely immense in that series out in South Africa that I watched. Pablo Matera, I did not have him in my back row. Partly because I think of Pablo Matera, I think he's a blindside flanker. So I was putting him in the Peter Steph the toy category. I know Argentina play 6 and 7 a bit like France with left and right rather than open side, blind side. But I would have thought of him more as a blind side. But hey, he was brilliant in the Rugby Championship. Best performance in the Rugby Championship for Argentina. He was talismanic for them. Can't begrudge that. I went for Josh van der Fleer, but Pablo Matera, no complaints here. Jameson Gibson Park, standout choice at 9. That's the one I picked, and I don't think anyone's going to really disagree with that, are they? Fly half, I think there might be some comments on this one, however. I went for Marcus Smith, but I did acknowledge on my video the other day when I did this, I don't know who to pick. So I reckon the judges might have been in the same boat, going, there hasn't really been a standout 10 this year. There's been lots of players that have had a few good games. Andre Pollard's been incredible in a few games and then not really used as much. And Marcus Smith's been really good, but in a team that haven't been winning. And Bowden Barrett and DMAC have shared the role. Albanese has come in sort of towards the end of the year and made the 10 shirt his own for Argentina and been really good. It's weird not to have a standout contender at fly half. So they've gone for DMAC. There is that joke. Remember John Lennon in the Beatles said when he was asked in an interview what makes Ringo Starr so good as a drummer, and he went, he's not even the best drummer in the Beatles. Ringo Starr is an amazing drummer, by the way. That was just a joke from John Lennon. He is genuinely, Ringo Starr's a brilliant drummer, but that's not my point. My point is, you could say the same thing. Oh, Damien McKenzie's in the dream team. What makes Damien McKenzie? Scott Robertson, tell us about what makes Damien McKenzie the best fly half in the world this year. He's not even the best fly half in New Zealand, is what Scott Robertson could quite legitimately say. Damien Dialende and Jesse Creel, the ever-presence in the midfield for South Africa. And yeah, I don't begrudge that. I went for Chocobares, although I had a real tough time with 12 as well, because it's like, I want to go for Tuipulotu as well. I think Tommaso Menincello's been brilliant. Diolende's been brilliant. Any one of those, I think I would have been very happy with. Dialende is a piece of iron, and he just is the glue that holds that incredible team together, and you notice him when he's not there. It's probably the highest praise you can give him. Jesse Creel, getting some recognition, which I think in a lot of quarters he doesn't get. People kind of always have thought of him as he's the guy that's in the Springbok team until Lukhanyo Am is back fit and up to speed again. But no one can get him past this guy because he is unreal. Colby on the wing as well, nominee for World Player of the Year. Obviously, he was going to be there. I did have Will Jordan in my back 3, but I had him on the wing and put him edging just out James Lowe. But James Lowe, Six Nations, series in South Africa, absolutely brilliant player, amazing left boot, tactically so important for Ireland, and gets involved in so many other ways than just as a finisher on the wing, but he does that too. I had Juan Cruz Malia, who I think's been really good. I do think it's a shame there's no Argentinian in the back line, bearing in mind that I think that's where they have completely evolved the way they play, and that was at the heart of them being so good as a team this year and getting those wins in the Rugby Championship. But Juan Cruz Malia, he's got a Champions Cup medal round his neck. He's not worried. Can't really complain. Well done to all the players. Wallace Atiti, Breakthrough Player of the Year. And after the July tests, So we got through the July test. We'd had the Six Nations. We had the July series, and I said, and I think it was fairly obvious, Sasha FM, my favourite radio station, Emmanuel Faye-Waboso and Wallace Satiti were the standout contenders for World Breakthrough Player of the Year. And this November was going to decide which one of them gets that accolade. As it is, the other two have mainly been injured this November, but regardless of that, I think this guy's performances meant that whatever happened with the other two, he was always going to win it because he is a rare and special talent. I do think Emmanuel Faye-Waboso and Sasha Feinbergen-Gomezulu are both incredible talent. In fact, I think we could be looking back at the list of nominees of this year in the Breakthrough of the Year category and saying that was an incredible class of players. It does feel like a little bit, and Jamie Osborne was the fourth nominee. It does feel a little bit like World Rugby. You can just say we're only going to have three nominees for World Breakthrough Player of the Year. You don't need to fill the spaces because it almost felt like we need someone else. Jamie Osborne? But he's had a good year as well. And actually looked really good at, in the game against Fiji. Right. Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year. Yeah, of course I knew who this was. What are you talking about? Of course I knew his name. I've known his name for years. No, I didn't have a clue. Jerome Doré, the coach of the men's sevens France team. I did have to Google who this was and look at his CV. That's down to my ignorance. I take full responsibility for that. I apologise. But well done. I think I was probably assuming that this would go to someone who coached a 15-a-side team. I wonder. It's weird, isn't it, the 15 and sevens thing? Because they're under World Rugby's banner, but they feel like different sports. They're so different. So anyway, I was just assuming this was going to be Rassie Erasmus's award, to be honest, with the 51 players he's used, the 11-2 record rugby championship and a November clean sweep. But now I've actually looked at what Jerome Doré did. He took a mediocre French team who'd never won anything and won in Los Angeles, won in Madrid, won a silver in Hong Kong, another podium in Canada, and of course gold at the Olympic Games, which is a pretty remarkable story. And fair play for that. Fair play for that. He has been coached. Jerome Doré has been coached since 2017. So it's not like France have. It is weird that France have been mediocre the whole time he's been in charge. They suddenly got very good this year. There was another factor involved which might have made a bearing on that. So, anyway, well done to Jerome Doré. Oh, yes. Arguably one of, if not the best player on the planet, going and playing for your sevens team. That might help your chances as well, a little bit. So, the sevens player of the year, Antoine Dupont. First man to win the World Player of the Year, 15-a-side and 7-a-side. That is quite some accolade, isn't it? That. If he does ever win the Rugby World Cup, he will have a very rare collection, which will be a World Cup, an Olympic gold, and a 7 and 15s Player of the Year. That would be pretty cool. We'll see if he can actually do it and win a World Cup with his French teammates. But it is fair to say he was the catalyst. He was the difference between, and there were some other players in that French sevens team that were really, really good. But he did. This is what's remarkable about Antoine Dupont. We know how amazing a rugby player he is. His rugby brain, his physical specimen. As a physical specimen, his attributes are incredible. He's as quick as a winger, as strong as a prop, as vision of a 10. Can kick amazingly well off both feet. The guy is a freak. We know that. But nevertheless, to actually do what he did, take a mediocre French team, and just with his very presence, he seemed to make all the other players around him that much better. That is pretty remarkable. And when you think about, and some people will criticise this, he didn't play that much. Yeah, I get that. I'd prefer to, and as I've talked about on this channel a lot, my glass is half full. I prefer to celebrate the things that are really good rather than focus on anything that you think might not be as good. And his impact is remarkable on that Sevens team. And you just think about the gold medal match against Fiji. France were out, and that was lost. And without Antoine Dupont, they're going down hard. He came on and basically won that gold medal match pretty much single-handedly. It's incredible. And he's won everything he could in 2024. I'm not going to hate. I think he's an absolutely wonderful player. And just like Pieter-Steph du Toit, I feel lucky to be alive at a time when I can watch and appreciate one of the greatest players that we're ever going to watch. So, love it. And there is the World Rugby Awards. My thoughts, love to know yours in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up, leave your comments, and hit subscribe.